In this series, we're going to build an Excel workbook for an accountancy practice. But we're not trying to build accounting software. We're going to concentrate on something Excel is particularly good at: organizing, tracking, retrieving, and reporting information. An accountancy practice may have hundreds of clients and hundreds of individual jobs running at the same time. Annual accounts, tax returns, payroll, bookkeeping, sales or VAT tax returns, company secretarial work, and every job can have a different deadline, a different staff member responsible for it, and a different status. Then there's another problem. The practice may be ready to do the work, but the client hasn't sent in the records. So the real challenge isn't simply storing information, it's knowing. What work do we have? Who is responsible for it? When is it due? What are we waiting for? And what needs our attention right now? That's what we're going to build. Let's start with the business process. Before writing a single formula, we need to understand the information we're managing. Our workbook is built around 4 main areas. Clients. Who do we act for? Jobs. What work are we doing for them? Records. Do we have the information needed to complete that work? Fees. What have we invoiced and what remains unpaid? Everything else in the workbook will eventually use these 4 sets of data. That's an important spreadsheet design principle. Start with the underlying business process, not with the formulas. Let's begin with the client's worksheet. This is our master list of clients. This sample educational workbook has approximately 200 clients. As you can see from the screen, it stores information such as client ID, client or business name, client type, assigned manager, assigned staff member, and the others, which we can see here. Notice that we're storing 1 client per row, and every column has one clearly defined purpose. That simple structure is extremely important. Excel works best when data is organized as a proper list, 1 record per row and 1 field per column. Why we use ID for each client? Why not simply use the client's name? Because names aren't reliable identifiers. 2 clients could have similar names. A business could change its trading name. Someone could type a name slightly differently on another worksheet. The client ID gives every client 1 unique identifier. That ID can then be used throughout the workbook. So instead of trying to connect worksheets using names, we connect them using an client ID like C001. This becomes particularly important later when we use functions such as XLOOKUP, SUMIFs, COUNTIFs, and filter. The name is useful to the person using the spreadsheet. The ID is useful to Excel. The importance of using Excel tables. Our client data is also stored as a proper Excel table. This is important for the following reasons. 1. The key reason. New records can automatically become part of the table. No manual updating. 2. Filters are added to the headings. 3. Formatting remains consistent. 4. And formulas can use meaningful structured references. Throughout this series, we'll use Excel tables for our main data sources. Control data entry with drop-down lists. Now look at fields such as client type, assigned manager, assigned staff, status. We don't want people typing whatever they like into these cells. One person might enter limited company, someone else limited company, etc. To a person, they probably mean the same thing. To Excel, they're 3 different values, so we use data validation drop-down lists. We will also show how to build these so that they update it automatically by using named ranges linked to table columns. This is real-world practical Excel worksheet construction. This is another important design principle. Where the possible answers are known in advance, control the input. Don't rely on users entering exactly the same wording every time. That makes the data cleaner and our later formulas much more reliable. The Jobs and Deadlines Tracker worksheet. Now let's look at the worksheet that will become the operational heart of the workbook. A client isn't necessarily associated with just one piece of work. One client might require annual accounts, corporation tax, payroll, sales tax or VAT returns, bookkeeping, company secretarial work. So we don't add columns to the client register for every possible job. Instead, we build a separate jobs table. Each row represents one job. This is a much more flexible structure. And notice that the jobs table contains the client ID. This is important. That's how Excel knows which client owns each job. Why the Job Tracker worksheet is so important. This worksheet answers some of the most important operational questions in the practice. Which jobs haven't started? Which jobs are in progress? Which jobs are waiting for client information? Which jobs are currently under review? Which jobs are overdue? And who is responsible for each one? And towards the right of the table, we'll eventually let Excel calculate whether a job needs attention. For example, overdue or due this week. We'll build that logic properly in a later lesson. For now, the important point is the structure. One row, one job, one responsible person, one deadline, one status. That makes the worksheet a genuine work tracker rather than simply a list of clients. The Records Tracker worksheet. But there's another side to managing the workload. Suppose Sarah is responsible for preparing the annual accounts for a client. The deadline is approaching. But Sarah can't start because the client hasn't supplied their bank statements. That isn't really a job status problem, it's a records problem. So we track that separately. Our records tracker contains items such as bank statements, sales records, payroll information, fixed asset information, etc. Each can have a status such as not requested, requested, part received, complete. We also record when the information was requested. This allows us to distinguish between we haven't done the work and we can't do the work because we're waiting for the client. That's a very important distinction. Later, Excel will help us identify records that have been outstanding for too long and flag clients who need to be chased. The Fees and Payments worksheet. Our fourth major data area is fees and payments. Again, we use a transaction-based structure. Each invoice gets its own row with fields for invoice number, client ID, invoice date, due date, etc., etc. But notice something important. We don't manually type the outstanding balance. Excel calculates it. We then let Excel determine whether the invoice is paid, parta paid, unpaid, overdue. This illustrates another important spreadsheet principle. Store the facts. Calculate the results. Invoice amount and payment amount are facts. Outstanding balance is something Excel can calculate from those facts, so we shouldn't ask somebody to maintain it manually. At this stage, our workbook contains a lot of data, but simply storing data isn't enough. Nobody wants to search manually through 700 jobs to find the ones due next week, and nobody wants to search through hundreds of client records every time somebody phones the office. That's why the workbook also contains client inquiry, work planner, practice dashboard, workings worksheet, and check controls. These worksheets don't create another copy of our underlying data. They use the data we've already stored and turn it into useful information. So let's look at the Client Inquiry Screen worksheet. The Client Inquiry Screen will allow us to select a client ID. Excel will then retrieve information such as client name, client type, main contact, open jobs, overdue jobs, next deadline, outstanding fees, and records that need chasing. It will also display the client's open jobs. Instead of searching through several worksheets, we bring the information to the user. We'll use mainly XLOOKUP and filter to build this worksheet. The Work Planner worksheet. The Work Planner approaches the same data differently. Here we don't ask what's happening with this client. Instead we ask what work needs to be done. We'll be able to filter jobs by staff member, job type, status, due date, priority. So a manager might ask Excel, show me Sarah's outstanding jobs due within the next 30 days. Or, show me every job currently waiting on a client. We'll use Excel new dynamic array functions such as filter and sort to create that live working list. The Practice Dashboard worksheet. We want to be able to answer management questions like, how many jobs are open? How many are overdue? How many are waiting on clients? How much money is outstanding? How much is overdue? How many clients need to be chased for records? The dashboard will also show the jobs requiring immediate attention. So we're moving through 3 levels: Data to operational information to management information. That's deliberate spreadsheet design. And finally, can we trust the workbook? There's one more worksheet in our Accountancy Practice Workbook, the Check Controls Worksheet. A spreadsheet can look excellent and still contain bad data. So we'll build controls that ask questions such as, are there duplicate client IDs? Are there duplicate invoice numbers? Has a payment been entered that's greater than the invoice? Does every job have somebody responsible for it? Does every job have a due date? Does every completed job have a completion date? Instead of assuming our data is correct, we make Excel test it. The objective is simple: build spreadsheets you can trust. We haven't written any complicated formulas yet. That's deliberate. Before building formulas, dashboards, and inquiry screens, we've created the structure they need. We have clients, who we work for, jobs and deadlines, what work needs to be done, records tracker, what information we're waiting for, fees and payments, what we've charged and what's outstanding. Then we'll use that information to build client inquiry, work planner, practice dashboard, check controls, and throughout the series we'll introduce the Excel functions as we need them, not functions for the sake of functions, functions solving actual business problems. In the next lesson, we'll concentrate on one of the most useful parts of the entire workbook, the Jobs and Deadlines Tracker worksheet. We'll turn a basic list of jobs into a working system that tells us what's due, what's overdue, who is responsible, and exactly where our attention is needed.
Whether you're looking to improve your own Excel skills or train an entire team, we've built a practical course for real-world Excel users. Our 6-level online program takes learners from beginner to advanced and now includes using Excel with AI, ensuring every skill level is covered. For businesses and universities, we support groups from 3 users to over 1,000. Managers can track progress, monitor results, and see team performance in real time. Course levels include online exams, and learners who achieve 75% receive an automatically generated CPD-certified Excel certificate. Individual and corporate group licenses available. Learn Excel. Work faster.